Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today we'll be diving into a sci-fi thriller movie titled Kin. Enjoy the recap. Our tale kicks off in a desolate construction site that's seen better days. There are subtle tremors rippling across stagnant puddles of water, a sign of unseen chaos. It's in an old factory where our story really begins, with an epic brawl sending shockwaves through the building's decayed walls. Super-powered weapons, the stuff of sci-fi dreams, tear the place apart from the inside. Here we meet Eli, a scrappy 14-year-old Detroit native. He's no stranger to tough times, visiting his mom's grave to seek solace in his troubled life. But how does our young hero get by? He sneaks into abandoned buildings around town, swiping metal junk to sell. One day, just another business day for Eli, he stumbles into a building echoing with peculiar sounds. And what does he find? An aftermath of a brutal skirmish with masked and armored casualties. Amidst the wreckage, Eli spots an odd rectangle device, a weapon perhaps, and can't resist the curiosity. Just as he picks it up, it springs to life. But before he can even figure out what happened, one of the dead on the floor jolts back to life and reaches out for him. Poor Eli, spooked to the bone, drops the weapon and makes a run for it. Now let's head over to Eli's home, where he isn't exactly greeted with a warm welcome. His dad, Harold, isn't too thrilled about Eli's recent school fight that landed him a suspension. Harold's just looking out for Eli, his adopted son, and believes his late wife would want him on a better path. To add to the family drama, Eli's brother Jimmy has just got out of prison. At the dinner table, Jimmy asks Harold for a job at his construction site, but his plea falls on deaf ears. Harold's job doesn't have room for an ex-con like Jimmy. The rejection sparks a heated exchange about Harold's role, or lack thereof, as a biological father, prompting Jimmy to storm out of the house. As the night falls, we find Jimmy rubbing elbows with some sketchy characters, Taylor and Dutch, a notorious gangster duo of the neighborhood. Jimmy's in deep waters, owing a hefty $60,000 prison debt. Taylor isn't a man of patience and threatens to harm Harold and Eli if Jimmy doesn't cough up the cash soon. Meanwhile, Eli can't shake off the day's encounter, and it haunts his dreams. Drawn by a magnetic curiosity, he decides to go back to that strange building to find the alien-like weapon. Midnight hits, and Eli is back at the building on the hunt for the high-tech weapon. Upon rediscovering it tucked away in a corner, he decides to keep it, his excitement barely containable. Back at home, the tense atmosphere hasn't dissipated. Jimmy and Harold are still at odds. Eli deftly sneaks into his room through a window, avoiding the conflict brewing downstairs. Jimmy pleads with Harold for a $60,000 bailout to settle his score with Taylor, but Harold isn't having any of it. Jimmy, aware of his father's financial stability, feels frustrated and slighted. It's as if he's been erased from the house, replaced by Eli, the adopted son. In the solitude of a small motel room, Jimmy wrestles with his predicament, searching desperately for a solution to his debt crisis. Meanwhile, at home, Harold questions Eli about his metal junk loot. Discovering that Eli has been pilfering from his own construction sites, he insists that Eli return everything back. As they set out, Eli voices his displeasure with Harold's strict rules and the sense of being a mere replacement in the family. Hurt by these words, Harold reassures Eli that he and his late wife have always wanted to raise him well, for he is indeed their son. Upon arrival at the site, Harold senses something amiss, signs of a break-in at the office. Telling Eli to wait in the truck, he ventures inside. As Harold steps into the office, he's hit with an unexpected sight. Jimmy, Taylor, and Dutch are raiding his safe. In a desperate attempt to protect his father, Jimmy urges Harold to leave. But Harold isn't one to back down, especially while his own son and his thuggish friends are pilfering his hard-earned money. Things escalate quickly. Taylor whips out a gun and shoots Harold dead, a sight that sends Jimmy spiraling. In a wild act of retaliation, Jimmy fires aimlessly, landing a lethal shot on Dutch, Taylor's brother. Realizing the mess he's in, Jimmy grabs the bag of money and makes a hasty escape, leaving his father's lifeless body behind. At the gate, he hops into Harold's truck, where an unsuspecting Eli has been patiently waiting for his dad. On the road, Jimmy feeds Eli a white lie, saying that their dad's caught up with work and everything's okay. Back at home, Jimmy tries to regain his composure after the harrowing ordeal. He feeds Eli another tale. They're going on a vacation to Lake Tahoe, their mom's favorite place, and their dad will catch up with them. The promise of a road trip seems to put Eli at ease. After hastily packing their bags, the two brothers make their timely exit, leaving behind more than just their house. In a daring escape from the wrath of the Taylor gang, our brothers in arms hit the road, making a pit stop in Iowa. Meanwhile, Taylor is mourning Dutch's death and thirsting for vengeance against Jimmy. Back at the inn, Eli's in the bathroom playing with his newfound toy gun, discovering features that go beyond his wildest dreams. While Eli's uncovering the secrets of his alien tech, a group of masked, armored figures are prowling the ruins of the building where he found it, seeking their lost weapon. Feeling a pang of homesickness, Eli decides to text his dad about their rendezvous in Tahoe. Unbeknownst to him, Taylor now has Harold's phone, and this message spills the beans on their location. As evening falls, Jimmy takes Eli to a local hangout where they meet Millie. Jimmy's boisterous actions draw the ire of Lee, the owner, and his gang. Despite Eli's attempts to calm things down, Lee's gang starts roughing up Jimmy. Eli draws out his ray gun, blowing a sizable chunk off the wall. The display shocks the room, giving them the chance to escape. The ray gun's activation doesn't go unnoticed by the armored figures, who immediately zero in on the location. Safe from the club chaos, Jimmy is intrigued by the weapon, but it seems only Eli can use it. During their tests, they realize Jimmy left the bag of money back at the club and plan to retrieve it later. With limited funds, they bunk at an inn, Eli sharing a room with Millie. Here, they bond over shared experiences of childhood abuse. Eli shows Millie a scar on his palm, a grim token from his biological parents, and Millie reveals her own scars, left by her mother. All the while, unbeknownst to them, Taylor and his gang are hot on their trail, closing in on Tahoe. Millie agrees to help Jimmy reclaim his cash, on the condition that she's dropped off out west once the ordeal is over. Jimmy convinces Eli to use the ray gun's power for their cause, assuring him that no one will get hurt. Under the cover of night, our dynamic trio head to Lee's hideout. As Lee enjoys a game of cards, Eli and Jimmy stealthily make their entrance. Eli brandishes the ray gun to keep everyone in check, while Jimmy strong-arms Lee into returning the money. When resistance crops up, a single blast from the ray gun sends a car up in flames, solidifying their escape route. Meanwhile, the mysterious armored figures have reached the local hangout. They piece together the events and, using advanced tracking tech, pin down Eli's identity. Flush with their reclaimed cash, the trio heads to Nevada, spending their time in luxurious high-end hotels. As Eli attempts to call his dad using Millie's phone, a news broadcast catches his eye. The world comes crashing down as he sees a report of his father's death in a shootout. Devastated, Eli confronts Jimmy. Just as the police pick up on their whereabouts, Jimmy tries to placate his younger brother and get them out of the casino, but their luck has run out. The police are closing in. Billy throws Eli a signal as she makes her escape, standing at a distance, powerless to do anything but watch as Eli and Jimmy are taken into custody. At the police station, their arsenal, including the ray gun, is seized. Meanwhile, Taylor, ever the bloodhound, gets wind of Jimmy's incarceration in Sulaco County and sets out with his gang to exact his revenge. Inside the station, Eli is given a measly 10 minutes to talk with Jimmy. This is when Jimmy spills the truth about that fateful day. Overwhelmed with betrayal, Eli lashes out at his brother and storms off, tears streaming down his face. Taylor and his gang eventually arrive in Sulaco County, storming the station with a deadly resolve. Police officers drop like flies as they try to halt Taylor's advance. As the station walls crumble under the onslaught, Jimmy and Eli sense the imminent danger and panic sets in. A wounded officer staggers into Eli's room, handing him the key to the evidence lockup before succumbing to his injuries. It's a race against time as Eli rushes to reclaim the ray gun. Meanwhile, Taylor leaves a trail of destruction in his wake, eliminating all the cops in the station and freeing Jimmy from his cell. As Taylor's gang prepares to pummel Jimmy, gunshots echo from outside, prompting Taylor to investigate. Enter Morgan Hunter, an FBI agent who has joined the local police, already engaging Taylor's outside crew in a shootout. Inside the station, Eli secures the ray gun and makes a desperate dash to aid his brother. Together, they manage to decimate most of Taylor's gang. However, a stray shot from the ray gun tears open a large chunk of the roof, alerting the FBI squad outside. Jimmy and Eli scramble out of the chaos, finding themselves in the station's lobby where they are promptly surrounded by the police. Surrendering, they drop their weapons. As Jimmy begins to tell Eli he's sorry, Taylor emerges, gun pointed menacingly at Jimmy. Simultaneously, the cops outside notice two armored figures speeding towards them. Opening fire, they soon realize their bullets are ineffective against these newcomers. The armored figures enter the lobby, throwing a device that sends out a massive shockwave, pushing Eli into a corner. With the world around him has seemingly frozen in time, everything is still, but Eli is not. In this frozen time, Eli can see the bullet fired by Taylor, hanging suspended in midair, inches away from Jimmy. The FBI team is visible too, frozen in the act of storming the room. Eli grabs his ray gun, preparing to confront the two armored figures. Upon removing their helmets, they are revealed as a man and a woman. The man soothes Eli, persuading him to lower his weapon. They explain they are from a war-torn world, a world from which Eli himself originates. The scar on Eli's palm, which they share, is evidence of his true origins. This mark is what enables Eli to operate the ray gun. The man explains that Eli was hidden on Earth for his own protection, but the time will come when his home world will need him. The fallen soldiers Eli discovered in the abandoned building were in fact sent to eliminate him. Before leaving, the woman redirects the trajectory of the suspended bullet back towards Taylor. The man reassures Eli to stay with his brother, and upon shaking Eli's hand, a red sign on his palm lights up. The pair step through a portal, disappearing back into their world. With their departure, time continues. Taylor is fatally struck by his own bullet. Eli and Jimmy are taken into custody. Hunter, the FBI agent, speaks with Eli, informing him that Jimmy is covering for him, but it won't last if he's uncooperative. Eli, however, refuses to divulge any information about the weapon. After Jimmy is taken away, Millie arrives at the scene and waves to Eli. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.